On this short take episode, Wes runs deep to catch a flick based on the true story of 4 women determined to make it to Super Bowl 51 and meet their hero quarterback, who makes what is considered to be one of the greatest come-from-behind victories in NFL and Super Bowl history. It's Wes's review of 80 for Brady on View the Right Thing.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Hey, welcome to a special, I guess this is an episode of View the Right Thing. We're going to try something new every once in a while, where I'm just going to come in and give just my take on a movie that we didn't get to cover when it was brand new, still in the theater. I'm going to try and limit these to movies within the last year that came out in theaters in the last year. So there's sort of movies that kind of exist in between, the stuff I do with Beat, which tends to be, at least a few years to decades older. And then the stuff I do with Alexis, which is, within a week of its release in theaters. So these movies will sort of fall in between those two categories. And it'll be just me kind of giving my, brief take. So these will be very short. Sort of a theatrical catch up. So this episode, I chose to do 80 for Brady. It's now available to stream on Paramount Plus, but it's still within a couple months of its release. So, I figured this might be kind of fun. I'm a sports fan. So, I thought, why not? I don't think the demographic for this, this is not a sports film, and it's featuring, a bunch of incredible actresses who, they're a bit older. I was trying to find a nice way to say it. The premise is that these 4 friends who are all women, they're all over the age of 80. They have been watching Patriots football for 16 years, decide to go to the Super Bowl together, and cheer on Tom Brady, who's their favorite. It's Lily Tomlin, Jane Fonda, Rita Moreno, and Sally Field. All just super accomplished, amazing actresses. And there's I think some winks to who they are and sort of or some of them and what they've done. Most notably, Rita Moreno's character ends up in a charity poker match that ends up giving money to Broadway. Obviously Rita Moreno is really, really well known for her Broadway work. She's an EGOT winner, and incredible at that. So the movie itself is fine. It's, maybe average to below average, but not in the realm of not worth seeing. If you have a remote interest in sports or you like any of these actresses, it's probably worth it. If you don't care about, story, the quality of story elements, and you can overlook far-fetchedness, then, I think you'll probably really enjoy this movie. There are things I really liked about the movie, and a lot of things I just really didn't like. But that really kind of came down to not necessarily the ineptitude of the filmmaking, but maybe the lack of drive or caring with the storytelling. So let's talk about some of the things I liked. There's right off the bat a really not so exaggerated example of superstition, where the game is about to start and one person has to be out of the room and one person has to knock over a bowl of chips and one person has to be drinking a tea and one person has to be standing on a ladder. And that's sort of their ritual that they do at the beginning of every game. And, most sports fans will recognize that this is a very real thing. I can think of one instance where, and I didn't force this to happen. The wife did this of her own free will. But every time she left the room, my team started doing really well. And every time she came back to watch and be in the room, they started doing poorly. So at some point she said, I'm just going to leave the room because I know that will help you. And sure enough, it helped. So I'm no stranger to superstition. So I thought that was a familiar and worthy example to have in the film. Some of the things I didn't love about the movie, I felt like the characters were all sort of like these like cartoon characters. This is based on a true story, but a lot of liberties. The very basis of the idea of these older women watching Patriots football and being fans of Tom Brady, that's basically where this the truth ends and then the fiction begins. So I think because of that, they just immediately right off the bat kind of turned them into a little bit of cartoon characters. And they're sort of like if you had like a geriatric, of course my alarm goes off, like sort of like a geriatric Sex in the City. I mean, you know, like there's the four women, they're all really four really distinct kind of stereotyped characters. That's kind of what this feels like. Sally Field, who I freaking love, is probably the biggest example of that. She's like the numbers girl. She's the nerd or whatever. And I don't know. I just didn't love how sort of on the nose it all was. The directing of this movie and the writing, it's all just like kind of by the numbers. Everything is telegraphed. You know what's going to happen just from the camera work. You could probably watch a lot of this movie with it on mute and kind of know what the next beat is going to be. An example would be, you know, if you have like a heartfelt moment where there's a slow push in on somebody as they're talking, you know that there's some sort of wacky thing that's happening off camera that you don't know about yet. And they're going to reveal it as soon as the heartfelt moment is over. It's just, I don't mind those moments. I just don't like them to be so telegraphed and for you to know that's what's happening. You shouldn't be thinking about what the next story beat is happening. You should be invested in the current story beat. I do think it's a cute idea for a movie, but it's sort of made by people who have no faith in their audience. You know, they have to tell them everything and beat them over the head. There's just no nuance to this at all. It's interesting because what makes this movie worth it is like the last quarter of the film. Like once they get into the Super Bowl, that's kind of when it shines, and those are the moments where all of these characters are together. They spend so much of this movie separate, doing their own thing, because, you know, I think there was sort of maybe a desire by the writers to make them like have their own personal struggle or their own personal thing, and that they, you know, along this journey learn to overcome that personal thing. The problem is that you don't really get very invested in any of those moments or those things for there to be a payoff, and it would have been much more satisfying, I think, if the characters had figured those things out together as a team or as friends. And so it's kind of frustrating to watch a movie about friendship and have the friends not be near each other most of the time. But like I said, the last act is great. I really, that's where the movie kind of gets a little bit more earnest in its sentimentality. Even if it's completely revisionist or completely fictional, their impact on the actual game, the Super Bowl game, obviously is not real. But it's they're together, and it's like I said, it's very earnest and heartfelt, and that worked really, really well. I wish more of the story had been true. Don't want to burst any bubbles, so I won't get into the what actually happened with these women, and their how that relates to this movie. I kind of like sort of mentioned it earlier, but I won't go into great detail because I think it's just like we could just nitpick it and go, so much of this is untrue or true or whatever. I will say that I think that the simple nature of the truth led to them making an over-the-top film that doesn't have enough moments of sincerity. All of that said, like I said, it's fine. It's an okay movie. It's certainly not bad, but it's not good either. It's just kind of right down the middle. So there we go. That's 80 for Brady. I'll be back again soon with another one of these quick catch-ups. And until then, bon cinema.